Hello and welcome to this session of Microscope. Microscope is, gosh, almost, I think it's 10 years old this year. It has been around for a while. It was a RPG tool that really kind of changed how we played in our local area. And I would say we've had 7 or 8 campaigns that have just started with a Microscope session and have played out for a long time. This session is part of a series that we're doing. We're starting with this, then we're trying a story game next time that's going to be kind of built on what we find out here. And then finally a 2-parter of Kingdom, also written by Ben Robbins, which is going to play out within whatever world we build today. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and this session is part of the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar. This is going to be the least exciting video to watch because there's going to be a lot of pauses and people thinking and people typing and such. I will put a link to our final document for viewing in the show notes. So if you're more interested in what the end product is, you can go and check that. So before we get rolling into the setup and tone and safety and all of those things, I do want to have our players introduce themselves. So I'm going to work from sort of counterclockwise here. Dan, can you say a few words about who you are, pronouns, and what you want to say about this?
Sure. Hi, my name is Dan, he, him pronouns. I'm based in the Washington, D.C. area. I am on Twitter at Brownorama, and I design games, and you can find those at cosmicbeagle.itch.io.
Excellent. And then Marley?
Hi, Marley, she, her. I'm in Boston, and I don't really have anything to plug. I started playing with the Gauntlet about a year ago because this became my pandemic hobby. So yeah, I was jonesing to game, and like most people, I was have to do this online, and I didn't have any online groups, and someone introduced me to Gauntlet, and it worked out really well.
Awesome. And then Stephen.
Hi, my name's Stephen. My pronouns are he, him, and I've been playing with the Gauntlet for years and years. They're a great online, community, and it's very nice. I don't have anything to plug either. I was playing a lot of games at conventions, but last year convention shut down, so I've been playing even more games on the Gauntlet, so it's good.
And we're happy to have you. So Microscope is about us building a timeline. It is about coming in with really no expectations. And if we were playing face-to-face, we would have index cards or flashcards or whatever that we would write out our things on and put little marks on, and then we would arrange them on the table. But for purposes of online, we're using a sheet that kind of forms an outline of the history. One of the things about it is that we can jump around from any point to any point as we're building that. We can change things. Anything that somebody puts into play is set, but it doesn't mean that years later that thing that has been created can't be destroyed, or we get a prologue to tell us something more about it. It is a sort of text play that is about reincorporation, and we take turns. We go around in rounds, and when it's your turn, you're kind of in the hot seat. This is a game that very specifically asks people not to chime in, not to suggest while another player is going. You can ask for follow-ups to answer questions or for clarifications, but it's a game that kind of puts people on the spot, and that's unusual in our very collaborative kind of approach to gaming these days. And it can get a little tense at the table. At the table, I make sure that everybody has snacks so that they can occupy themselves while someone is sitting there thinking. That's the best way to do that. When we're here online, it's a little bit different. But a sort of secondary conversation can happen in the Zoom chat. So that's where the space is for that. We start by establishing a palette, which creates a list of things that we want to see and things we don't want to see. And then we're going to define a couple of bookends and things, and then we're just going to roll on into it. It is turn-based. We've got a structure to that. And the tone in some ways will be determined by how we set the palette here at the start. Like, what we will have a conversation about: do we want it grim dark? Do we want it high fantasy? Do we want it low fantasy? Those are things that we're going to kind of generally talk about here in the sort of ad ban. But of course, to supplement that and to make sure that everybody is on the same page, we use our layered set of safety tools, and the base conversational level that comes after the sort of this talk is the lines and veils. We have that there on our safety tab in the sheet. Lines being anything that is hard lines. Definitely, we don't want to see that in the setting, in what we're describing. Veils, if we do, we're going to elide it, or we're only going to deal with it in passing. And ask first would be, if you want to put that in, then check with the other players before adding that to what we have here. Because this is a game that has such a broad sweep to it, feel free to add other things to the lines and veils so that we have a clear sense of that. Of course, not everything can be covered using that tool. So we're using the X card as our secondary tool. The X card can be used for matters where we're hitting on something you find objectionable, something you find problematic, something that hits against a phobia, or something that you feel is wildly off tone from what we've already established. And at that point, we would stop and maybe have a conversation about how to get that shape. But in general, the X card, when you call that out, then we move past that material, move on to the next thing. The only question might be where we have to cut for that. So the last thing that we have is open door, which means that if something makes you uncomfortable, or you get sick, or you're not feeling up to it, or for whatever reason you don't want to play, you can step away. You don't have to give us a reason. It'd be great if you tell us if you're coming back or not coming back, but that's not even required. Just know that your safety, your comfort in what's going on comes first above what we're doing here. So those are kind of the basics. So I've said that we're going to do a fantasy game, but other than that, I know very little about what we're going to do. We're really going to define that. So to start, let me have us all, well, I should probably go through the lines and veils aloud just so that we reinforce that. I think that's a good point. So lines right now we have are harm to animals, harm to children, sexual assault, and torture. And then veils on the following things: dental horror, eye injuries, graphic gore, and needles on people. And then ask first for bullying, homophobia, mind control, PC betrayal, racism, sexual content, or slavery, and then suicide as well. So let me talk about what the palette looks like in this game. And this is a process where we're going to go around and we're going to walk around the table. And if there's something that you think might not ordinarily be in a fantasy game, but you'd like to see it in this, we'll add that to the add section of the palette. If there's something that we might usually see in a fantasy game that you don't want to see, we will put that in the ban section of the palette. For example, let's say you don't want dragons, then we could put that in there. Some of the things may be a little bit more general, maybe more about like firearms, things like that. We could put that in the ban list, or we could also add that to the basic premises that this is not a world that has access to fantasy firearms of some kind. We're going to this is a place where we're going to have some conversation and some negotiation about what we're going to establish. And how this is going to work is we're going to go around the table, and you can add something or pass. When we kind of hit it so that we're tapped out, then we'll move on to the next section of play. But you can choose to add or not add in this part as you see fit. This will also help us maybe have a sense of what we want to have as the bookends, which are the first period of the history that we're going to define, we give it a name, and the last period of the history, we're going to give that a name. So Dan, I'm going to put you right away on the spot here. With a fantasy setting, does anything occur to you that you want to add to the palette, ban from the palette, or establish as a basic premise?
The first thing that occurred to me is magic, which I would like to add.
Okay.
But I would like it to be dangerous. So
Ooh.
it's not something that is easy or necessarily safe to do.
Okay. So dangerous magic as an added thing. So there are risks involved with it. It's never entirely easy or mundane. Okay,
Yep.
that's
And it's always dangerous. Is that right?
That's what I was going for. Yeah.
Okay.
so some mitigation can be made to the danger, but it's always a present thing to be dealt with.
Yes.
Okay. Marley, something you would like to add, ban, establish as a premise for what kind of history you want to build?
I think there are very powerful nature spirits.
Okay.
Think Princess Mononoke level, gigantic, not to be trifled with level of stuff.
Okay. I like that. I'll put that in the add list. Stephen, anything that you would like to put in here?
I don't know if we've played before, but your example was exactly right. Firearms are a ban for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Is this collaborative?
In this part, we can have a kind of conversation if somebody's like, oh, I want to negotiate about what exactly that means.
So does anyone have a problem with that? Okay.
Okay. Firearms. So let me think what else that I would like to see here. I guess one of the things would be, oh gosh, not necessarily an ad, but that things can get reborn. That there's rebirth. That people or things can get reborn from time to time. Kind of some form of reincarnation.
Nice.
Dan, come back around to you. Other things?
I could use some help articulating this, but I kind of want to avoid like a Lord of the Rings, we're at war. Like, I don't mind if maybe this is the aftermath of a war, and we're sort of dealing with the fallout of it, but I'm not sure I want us to be in the middle of a war. Does
Okay.
that sound okay with folks?
So aftermath, I'll put this under basic premises.
Yeah, I like that.
Not deep in war. Okay. Marley?
I would prefer not to see a patriarchal society.
Okay.
Could we go as far to say that we would want to see a matriarchal society? Or is it just
You're up
open?
next. Feel free to add
Right,
that.
Well, let me ask this about this. Do you mean that no society is patriarchal, or that patriarchy isn't the dominant society, or how do we want to?
Yes, I was imagining in general, just a lot of the what we think of the gender roles of that time are not a thing. It is not assumed that the man will inherit and that women can't hold jobs or property. I am open to flipping it. I'm opening to say it's more egalitarian. But yeah, that was the I would prefer not
Okay.
to see thing.
So not a dominant patriarchy, old regressive gender roles are not in play, and new ones are, and different systems of establishing order and control and so on. Okay.
Right.
Stephen?
So I want to make sure that this is okay, and it's kind of touching on the powerful nature spirits. I would like to see awakened animals. These could be animal hybrids, like we have snake men, or we have, cat people or something like that. But it could also just be, and this is up for, what the table thinks. It could also just be, hey, your foxes have some intelligence to them and some people can talk to them.
We
Okay.
did play an entire game about dogs.
We
you and
did.
me, so
So we'll put down awakened animals as the ad list there. I think then related, and I know this is something that's been in the general talk and in the waters that we want to get out there, is no fantasy essentialism. Essentially, if something is a goblin or an orc, all it tells us is maybe something about the culture that they come from, not who they are, or any kind of established absolutism about what's going on with them. And back to you.
yeah.
Anything else?
On me. I would like to add that, or maybe it's a premise that societies are pluralistic. That is to say, they're not divided by species or race
Oh, okay.
either. That sort of every nation is, or social group is comprised of, a pluralistic mix species.
Yeah, I think pluralistic mix is probably the best way of peoples and cultures. Like that.
Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Marley?
Yeah. How far are we taking this?
Well, we if you want to feel like, okay, I'm good with this, then we can stop. Or, but if there's something else you want to add, you can add that.
Yeah, I think I'm good with this
Okay.
as a premise for the thing.
Yeah, that seems reasonable. Stephen, what about for you?
I'd like to toss out an idea to see how this fits, and it might be, I don't want to play the game before we get to the game.
Sure.
But from seeing that we have rebirth in a very nature kind of sense, I'm seeing as an antagonist as I'm not sure how to phrase it, death cult or necromancer or something like that.
I think you'll be able to add that in play.
Okay, so that's in play, not necessarily
right.
Okay, then in that case, let me talk a little bit more about tone.
Sure.
Are we going for something that's light, or are we going for something that's, I know that we talked about we don't want there to be a war, right? Is this something like, I know we'll zoom in and out, like we'll have a small scope and then maybe a large scope, but I'd like to get an idea for, is this going to be like Watership Down, or is this going to be, silly? Is it going to be really intense?
Do you have some preferences on that?
I don't. I just want to make sure I don't step on anyone's toes.
I will say, if it comes to me, the invocation of Princess Mononoke earlier, like I feel like that's a very good tone. That would be a kind of tone line that I'd be very comfortable with. It's not grim dark. It has some realism to it that are involved or hard choices about the world. That would be where I would be on that page.
Yeah, that helps set it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Dan, anything else you want to add?
I'm done, I think.
Okay. Marley, anything else? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do now is we are going to move forward. Now we've kind of got that palette in place, and we're going to be moving to doing the actual history. There are two things that we need to establish first, but I want to talk about the structure of how the play is going to go. So our history is broken into periods. These are spans of years, arcs of time. We give them a name, and we can add some details about what is involved in that time. We're covering a wide swath. Whenever we add anything, after we put it on the page, we're going to ask whether it's light or dark, whether we think this event or this period or this happening has resulted in things being worse for the world or better for the world, however that means. We'll mark it as in that way. But a period is a span of time, like the age of troubles or whatnot. We can give it as abstract a name or as specific as you want. Below any period, there are a set of events. Events should be a specific thing that happens. In the notes that I sent before, we don't say that plague ravages the land. We say a plague breaks out in this place, or the first signs of the plague occur here. We establish a specific point in time and say a little bit about that. And then again, establish whether that is light or dark. And then the last thing that we can do, and this is different from standard Microscope. In standard Microscope, we would move down to scenes and play those out. Here, because we're using this more as a tool, the other thing that you can add is a question. And a question is a question about an event. You want to know about why it happened or some other detail of an event that has been previously established. When you ask a question of event, you can immediately answer it yourself, or you can ask another player to answer it for you. That's sort of the bottom level of this. And the answers are what we see as being light or dark. In play, we're going to start with a starting player. I will go first in the first round because it's just to kind of model how we do things. I will set a theme for that round. Everything that we add should tangentially relate to that theme. Because I'm the starting player, I can add one thing or two. Once I'm done, it will pass it around. We'll establish an order, pass that around. It'll go around and eventually come back to me after everyone has added one thing, and then I will have a chance to add one final thing. And then we'll look at what's been added. The next to last person will have a chance to create a legacy, and I'll talk about what that means when we come to that period. But right now, we're going to look at this history on that history tab, and you'll see that we've got the period, events, question and answers. I have model text for what these particular rows look like. They're down at the very, very bottom, row 104 at this point, so that you can copy those rows and just paste them in as you need to. And I also just realized let's steal this, cut this, move it over here onto the palette page. So we need to come up with bookends, what we call the first period and what we call the last period. And these are, as much as anything, names that we put on the table, but we don't know what they mean yet. These periods, we're going to figure out what they are based on what events occur in them. So I've got some samples there, but I'll also entertain suggestions. Dan, is there any of those sort of first bookends that appeal to you? Or do you have another idea for something you might want for that first period of history?
I really liked what Stephen was saying about the awakened animals, and I wonder if like we are living in the moment where animals are waking up, and so maybe it is the awakening of the animals.
Of animals. Do you think that that is a light or a dark period?
Oh, I would personally find it very light.
Okay, let's put light there. And then for the last period, the other end of this history that we're going to do, Marley, do you have an idea for what you want to call that, or any of the samples appeal, or some idea?
I'm not seeing your samples. Where are they?
Oh, they are on the palette page, all the way off to the side after the bands.
I
Yeah,
did not see
sorry.
How about it is the final slumber?
The final slumber,
Yes.
is that light or dark?
Just to mix it up, let's call it light.
Okay, yeah, we don't know why it's light yet. These are questions that are going to get answered as we play. Now, here's a question for you. I've played Microscope in several different ways. We've left it open on the timeline. We've said this is 10 years. We've said this is a century. We've said this is 1,000 years. Does anybody have a strong feeling about wanting to do either a smaller span or a larger span, or just let it happen as it happens? Any strong feelings on that? Stephen, what do you think?
I don't have a strong preference. I would say let's let it happen how it happens, and then we can determine and play what the time frame is between them.
Okay. So then I'm going to start. There's going to be a lot of uncomfortable sitting around while people are thinking about their things and typing stuff up. That is what is going to happen. I have a text pad up that I'm going to be typing my things in. But the first thing that I'll do is I will set the theme for this first round. And I think that theme, it can be as narrow as a person or place, or it can be more broad. And I think for this theme, I'm going to start with magic as the theme. So everything that we add to this should reflect on magic. And I can add two things so long as they would be nested beneath one another. I'm going to think about that and then type it in. And we're going to go in this order if it's okay. Dan, Marley, Stephen. That'll be the order of play. So
while you're being quiet and typing,
yeah,
what should we be thinking about? What we might want to add?
Yeah.
Relative to the theme of magic.
Yeah. Think about what you want to add. Consider where it might fall. This is your time to kind of brainstorm on that. Have a doc up to think about that. One of the things you will find is you'll be like, oh, I've got the perfect thing. And then the person before you will do something that is very much like what you've done. So don't get married and be ready to kill your darlings.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to mute myself, and I will tell you when I put this in here. All right, so I'm going to put an event in here. Do word wrap on this. Text wrap. So my event, and this is, I'm putting this in that first period, and it's the first event because it's the first one we have. If people want to add events that happen before that, you can move the line down and add things in. So mine is, I put a name for it, the birth of the wind seer, and then the actual event itself is Azarius is born in Talis, the first of her people to hear and command the wind's voice since the fall of the first bastion. And I think that this is a sign of hope and power, so I mark this as a light event. Now, because I'm the first player, I could then add a question to it, but I'm not going to. So that is there. So Dan, you would go second.
Oh my gosh. There's just a lot of pressure. Okay, so now I can choose either to add an event or a period.
You can add an event, a period, or you could ask a question about an existing event.
Okay. All right. Give me a moment. All right, I'm just going to go with my first instinct here. This is another event. I guess I need to name the event. Is that like you did?
Yeah, it's a good way to give a hook to it.
Okay. So I added something called the first stone in the bridge. Seratus Mage, after a series of elaborate experiments, establishes a telepathic link with a red squirrel, but develops an unhealthy obsession with nuts.
I
That's what
like
got.
that. Would you describe that as a light or a dark event? Is it a positive, or is it filled with foreboding?
No, I think it's a positive. I think what I was imagining was this is sort of like when in that kind of Star Trek universe when they discover light speed or warp speed. You know, it's sort of like this crossing the threshold into this new world for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I got.
Awesome. Marley.
I was going to do a period that just has a title, right? You're muted. But I
Actually,
assume
for the periods that we add afterwards, we do want to add some text to that
Okay.
to flesh that out a little bit.
Sure. So I have a period called the Mangle, which is dark. And it is when the covenant of magic is broken. Do you need more than that, or is
No, I think that's good. That
Okay.
gives us a sense of what's going to happen in that period, and I think that works.
Okay.
Stephen,
I would like to also add a period. Can I add one before your event?
so any period now will fall between the awakening and the final slumber. Those periods.
Oh.
So now it can either fall between awakening of the animals and the mangle, or between the mangle and the final slumber.
Okay. So, yeah, just like you said, what I wrote down was redundant. I think I can change this into an event under
Okay.
the awakening of the animals. Let me see if I can. So let me ask, Marley, do you imagine that the covenant of magic is broken? Is that
I'm going to stop you right there.
okay?
I'm going to leave you in the dark to make your decision.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I
No.
just wanted to make sure I didn't stomp on that, but we will figure it out.
I
Right.
shall be unstopped.
Yeah.
I threw out a plot hook. Feel free to take it.
Awesome. Oh, there we go. Is that appropriate?
So tell me what the specific event is.
It is a so what I had written down was the Grand Awakening, which is the period. So this event is this person, Stone Chaser, opened the world. So
So
I'm
there's
not
some
sure
sort
how
of
to phrase that.
ritual or magic that he casts to do this, or they cast to do this.
Ooh, how about if I name it the Great Bargain?
Okay. Did you type that in there? Because it looked like you did, and then it went away.
Oh, it did go away. There we go.
So there's an event, something happens that this stone chaser person does this thing, and that opens the world.
I think so.
Okay. So it returns back to me, and I will add another event. Here. Oop, and I will completely mess that up. Go back to my text pad. So my event happens in this period of the Mangle Dark. We know that the Covenant of Magic is broken. So my event is called The Storm's Given Form as a result of Azarius's broken promise. So we're incorporating the 13 great storms of the world are given corporal bodies, but still possess their old powers. They sweep out to change, destroy, and undo. So that's the round. We've got that with the theme. Now, the last thing that happens in the round is we get a legacy. And in this case, it's a person who went next to last. So Stephen, this is where I put you on the spot again. So with a legacy, what you do is you look back at what has been established so far, and you choose something like a name or a place or a person or a thing, and you say what that is, and then you write something about it, usually an event or a question about that.
So this is not an event. This is writing sort of a question about one of the already established things that we have.
Sort of, there are two parts. One, you say the legacy is this, like it's Azarius, for example. And then you get to add an event or a question somewhere related to that.
And this legacy is sort of meant to be kind of an end cap to this round.
Yeah, what it does is it goes back, especially once the history gets bigger, it gives people a chance to go back and find something that maybe hadn't gotten reincorporated that they were interested in, and say one more thing about it.
I see. Okay.
Okay, and where do I put the legacy?
Muted. What is the legacy? I'll mark it
Oh,
in on the palette.
yep. The legacy is Rooney the Red Squirrel, RUNI.
Excellent. And what are you adding to our history about Rooney?
Yes, this would be an event, and it's named The Joining of the Lands. Rooney led the peoples in joining together in a time of prosperity, light. So just add that like a regular event somewhere.
Yeah. Where's it going to fall? Is it in the first period, second, third, and where's it fall in that history?
Ooh. I don't want to get too clustered up in that first period, so I'm going to say, is it possible for the legacy to be a descendant of Rooney, the Red Squirrel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to change that to say descendant. Oh, I think the Great Bargain went to the wrong place. Can I move it?
Oh, yeah. Did you mean to have it in a different period?
Above. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
just meant it to have it above, and I think whenever I pasted it, it didn't work, and now I've messed everything up.
I'll take care of that if you want to put in your other thing. I'll
Okay.
merge those cells here.
Thank you. Perfect. Oh, that again, that's not where I wanted it to be. Let me put that, I'm going to put it down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's our first round. We would now move on to Dan to set the theme for the second round. But let's take our first break here. Let's take 10. We'll come back and we'll have Dan set the theme. And Dan will have the opportunity to add one or two things. So that's what we're going to do. So Dan, what is the theme for this round?
I'm going to say it is music.
Music. Okay.
And that means I add an event or a period and maybe one other thing.
Yep. And if you add a second thing, you add it below whatever you did. So an event under period or a question under an event.
All right. Give me a moment.
Sure.
So I'm going to add a period. Lo, can I just paste that into the chat so you can add it to the spreadsheet? Would that be all right? So there's the period, and I want to add an event, but I need another moment to think about that.
Where do you want that period to fall?
I think immediately following the mangle.
Okay.
It's a dark time. What is it? What is it? Sorry, that took a little while longer than I thought I was going to. I'm pasting this in the chat. Oh, wait, there we go. I'll add it here. The Metallic Sisters Consortium. At a conference of world leaders, a new style of music was invented, combining elements of many nations. I'm going to say cultures. Sorry about that.
Marley, to you.
The one I was messing with still holds. So as part of the period, the final slumber is the event, the salve. The rabbit kind Anush raises their voice to sing the great lullaby. For the first time in memory, a spell is cast without pain.
Ooh,
That's good.
yeah, nice. Very nice. Stephen?
Sure. I'm going to add an event. Cut and paste. The refrain of the woods was silenced. Ozarars the many, Ozarars, came upon the heart of the glen and took it for their own. This is dark.
All right. I have a similar, but mine still holds. Always good thing. Let's do it here. So so copy. So my event is the chorus silenced, Vespariane. I'm not saying how sure I'm saying that. The form of the unmourning tornado steals the voices of the chorus of timbers as they prepare to beckon the high daughter of ashes to restore their forest. Dan, we're back to you. You get to give us another thing.
Can I add a question?
Yeah.
If I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
What about this? What about to the refrain of the woods? I would like to add where is the heart of the glen now? And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Where is the heart of the glen now?
Now, you can answer that question yourself, or you can hand it out off to another player. The only thing you don't want to do is hand it off to the player who just went before you.
I will answer it myself. And I will say Uzar is threw it to the bottom of the sea of harmony. Do I have to say whether that's light or dark, or is that yes?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be light, but maybe I'll call it dark and see what happens.
So I think I am going to. So I'll do the legacy for this round. Now that that's done, and I think I will actually for that following the first round's legacy of it being Rooney the Red Squirrel, I will do the Rabbit Kind and Shu or Ansa. How do we want to say that? Ansa. So I'm going to add something about them. So
We can't pronounce it properly. We don't have rabbit jaws.
exactly.
It's pronounced properly with a whisker twitch.
Yes. So let me think what I'm going to do here. So mine is the Rabbit Kind and Shu shows the refugees from Last Hala to the entryway of the first Warrens and gifts them its keys and sigils. So we can start building up that rabbit mythology that we so dearly need. So that's round two, which will bring us around to round three. Marley, what do you want as the theme for this round?
The theme for this round is sacrifice.
Okay. We'll set you to it.
Mhm.
Sure, Stephen.
Okay. Kicking off the sacrifice theme. We have a question and answer going attached to the event, the joining of the lands, a descendant of Runi, led the peoples in joining together in a time of prosperity, light. Question, what did such magic cost the descendant of Runi? Answer, the ultimate pain, the loss of identity. Their name is forgotten, their face unrecognized, only their deeds remain.
Would you say that's dark?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it was sacrifice, so it was
Oh, yeah.
for the greater good, but like, I
I
wasn't
think
sure if
that's fair.
question and answers had lightness and darkness.
Yeah,
to them.
the answer has a lighter dark. So
Okay.
yeah, I think that. And so back to Stephen then.
Okay, I'm going to add a question. See if I can do this right. When the Vesperain, the form of the unmounting tornado, threatened the city of Isoti, what was given up to avoid certain destruction? If so, I have a question. Who created the chorus silenced?
It would be me.
That was?
Yeah.
Then I'd like to toss the answer to Dan.
Interesting.
Since you created it and Marley went last, I thought we could all contribute. Yeah. Are we waiting on me for something?
No, Dan's
Okay.
working on it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure
Oh,
I
sure.
didn't need to do something.
Hey, happy with your answer, Dan? You're muted.
I just pasted it in and read it out loud. And
Oh, okay.
Because I was on mute. It's fine. It's only all day that I use Zoom. Okay. The city of Esoti gives Vesperine the water from the canals that carry goods throughout the city, and now they run dry, and that is dark.
Nice. Right.
Sorry about that.
No. This is one of those games that has a lot of little friction points. I'm going to so this is under the period of the Discordant Storm. So no magic without cost. Atop Mount Lost Lore, Azarius makes good upon her promise and ascends to become the 14th wind as her love Bashan weeps bitter tears. And for all the tragedy, it is light because that is a promise that was finally fulfilled and hopefully deals with that issue. Which then it brings us to Dan.
I'm just going to make a little change. All right. This will be another event on the Discordant Storm. And it occurs after the one that Lowell just added. And I need to name it. It is Atula, matriarch of the Evelon Warren, abandons the Lonel tunnel system during floods caused by Asarius, now known as Undaunted Tempest. I'm going to call this Rabbitkind Rising.
Okay. Light or dark?
Um, I'm gonna say it's light.
Okay. So it'll come back to Marley.
Okay, pasted funny, but Lowell can fix it, no doubt. So after as a event in the Mangle, and I'm unmuted. Yes, I am. Okay. The Siege of Mistwood, Parched Tooth, the great storm of the desert lays siege to the Mistwood. They demand one child of each family to be their servants, or they will create a drought so great it will reduce the wood to sand. They refuse, instead hiding underground to survive. To this day, a stubborn person is said to be of the Mistwood.
Very nice. Very nice. Dan, you now select the legacy.
Yeah, I'm going to do the Bitter Tears of Bishan the Sacrificed as the legacy. And I need to add an event, right? Or ask a question related to that legacy.
Yeah.
We need some more periods. A lot getting jammed up in here. Okay, give me a moment. I've got an idea.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put this in the final slumber. And it is called The Homecoming of Bishan the Sacrificed. Bishan ends his quest, content in what he has discovered, now encoded in the Tome of Surrender, buried in the remnants of Mistwood.
Light or dark?
I will call that dark.
Awesome. Stephen, it is now your round. But I think actually let's do this, since that's going to be kind of the final round, and then we'll do wrap up. Let's take 5 before we go to that. We'll have you establish the theme. And I'll stretch my legs and then we'll come back and do that. Sound good?
It does. Do we want to name a theme before we go
Sure.
on break
If,
so
if,
that people can think about it?
if you've got it,
I do. My theme is going to be loss.
it's going to be loss.
LOSS, loss.
Okay.
Yes.
Sacrifice and loss is the last two. Ooh, okay. All right. So we'll
Yeah,
do
this
that.
got darker than I would have thought.
Yes, I have a story about that at
Our
the
talking
very end.
animals.
Yeah. So we'll come back in 5. Stephen, you've set the stage and the theme for this last round. So we'll start with you.
Yeah. I'm going to add an event. And then I can add a second thing, correct?
Yes. You should. What if you add an event, you should add a question below the event.
And I'll do that and then answer it.
Perfect.
Point of clarification. My question and answer about the descendant of Rooney is in response to an event that seems to have been edited in a way that makes my question and answer no longer make sense.
Oh, let's see here.
I was riffing off the fact that someone didn't name the descendant of Rooney and somehow a name has now been added.
Oh,
I added a name. You can take that out.
yeah. Let's.
Okay.
Perfect. Let's edit that out.
Okay. The name of my event is Dusk Rising. The melange of the blackness calls upon long dead heroes to do their bidding, causing a stain upon the land, and this is dark. My question is, when Leafkeep the Feral confronted the hero reborn as Death Dream at the final stand of Jardan, what was done to bring balance back to the land? And the answer is Noble Jumper sang a dirge of loss that reminded the reborn of their earlier life, and that is light.
All right. So my turn. So I add an event to that first period. Topoltati, the keeper of the plateaus, I imagine this is one of those nature spirits, strides into the mirrors to shatter the tablets of sorcery and disperse their powers out of the hands of the few. That's my title loss. And into the hands of the many, including animals. The idea that magic gets spread out. So that's mine. Dan.
I'm going to add an event to the mangle. This is called When the Axles Broke. Genoveva, the magistrate of transportation, loses the manifest of the trade routes on the Western continent. Her efforts to recreate them accidentally reveals magical portals embedded in panga root trees. And we will call that light.
Like it. Which brings us to Marley.
I hear there was a complaint about not enough periods, so I got a wacky one for you.
Don't make me regret it.
Well, I love it. And that's the only thing that matters.
Sure, I will love it too.
Okay. It's kind of a short period. But the year of second chances. The Soaring Murder, which is the highest council of crows, conducts a ritual to turn time back 1 year. They alone remembered what originally happened.
Nice. Which brings us back to Stephen.
And is this going to be the last?
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll have you do yours and then the legacy, and then we'll have everybody do one more, add one more thing of whatever they want to the thing.
Fantastic. So in that case, I'm going to add something. I'm going to add an event at the end of the final slumber, which is repose. Repose. At the end of times, the wizened keeper of stories, Moongazer, finally sleeps, and the history of the land is forgotten. And this is dark.
Ooh.
Bringing some of that Polaris into it.
Oh yeah. Grab that. All right. I am going to choose as my legacy Genevieve.
Wait, I haven't done the legacy. Did someone
Oh.
go twice?
No, I think you're right. You must. I think you must have to do the legacy here. Let me go back and look here. Yeah, because I already did the legacy. You are right. You should do the legacy on this one.
just as well we're nearly done. I'm getting punchy. So I've got an event from the year of second chances called Far from the Maddening Crows.
Oh,
Yeah, tons are
nice.
coming out. Maestro Zrashanowiak bursts into the Court of Dreams, kidnapping a young owlet named Zoe. They are never found, but a notebook is later, let's call that discovered,
Get this.
claiming the abduction prevented the terrible war.
Ooh, nice. All right. So we'll go around and each of us will do one more thing, whatever you want to add to this, to wrap this up. And we'll do it in that same order. I wrote two things and now I'm trying to decide which one is, we'll go with this. Let's see, put this in this created period format. Insert row of, and then copy. So mine is to kind of tie a ribbon on there for this under the year of second chances. After our soaring murder with the High Council of Crows, within that, I put the crow's paw. Genoveva gathers all her magics to call for the opportunity to not lose their manifests, which they had previously lost. But the crow's ritual is not what she hoped for, and is in fact this turning back time thing that happened. Dan, one more thing.
Yeah, I love this year that never happened thing so much. So I wrote an event. Little random question. In
Yeah.
Kingdom, do we play a character? Are we like rolling up characters in Kingdom?
So in Kingdom, you will take a character. You will have a role that you play within that. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be able to play a crow. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Keep that in
We're gonna
mind.
have this like adventuring party of crows, because who would not want to be a crow?
Absolutely.
so I added an event to the year of second chances. I call it the ears come off. During the year of second chances, the rabbit kind Sebrunzi swapped the heart of the glen with a petrified acorn that's been enchanted to give off a warm glow. In casting the spell, she singed her ears clean off.
Oh, lovely. And then that brings us to Marley to add one last thing from your end.
Okay, riffing off of the Panga roots. The event Pangamonium. Attempts to map the portals of the Panga root trees shows they have no discernible pattern of where they go. The scholar Olivier argues that the trees are both, and I quote, sentient and a bunch of right bastards. Transit via Panga root is eventually set aside as too random to be useful.
Nice. Nice. Set. Merge cells. Stephen, you get last word.
Okay, I'm going to also add an event under the Year of Second Chances. Rebirth from the Waters, a lost island chain, the ever-reaching isles is discovered, bringing new cultures, new traditions, and new songs to the land. And this is light.
Oh, nice. And on a good positive up note. So that's our history. Doing it online is a little more challenging than doing it face to face, but there's still a lot of rich stuff to play with here. Let me talk about what we're going to be doing the next few sessions, and then we can take a couple moments to a quick stars and wishes if you don't mind. So next time we're going to be trying out a story game that I kind of sketched out on building a deck of fortune cards a la the tarot with the elements of that, and it'll be for this world. And so we'll be doing that. I'll send you the link to the post if you haven't seen it that sketches it out. This is very much a trial run for a light story game. And then what we'll do for sessions 3 and 4 is we'll find a place that that we think we can establish kind of a kingdom, a place that characters want to preserve and in the face of threats, and I'll sketch out the background of that, and we'll play a couple of sessions of kingdom in that. I like to describe his kingdom as anti-fiasco because all the characters want to keep everything together and preserve everything, and that is the play goal for that. So that's what we're going to be doing. So thoughts, stars, wishes, things you want to mention, call out. I want to thank you all for trying this, and I love the animal imagery and the spirit, the nature spirit stuff. That's great, and the puns. Of course, I want to also give a big shout out to, because I love that. Dan, thoughts?
First, little stars to you. I really appreciated how you set our expectations in the intro email. So I came into this literally having no idea what to expect, but at least having a little bit of an idea of what to expect, if that makes sense. Such that the rhythm and the style of play was not as jarring as it might have been. The anti-collaboration feel of this game is so antithetical to how I've come to play role-playing games that in some ways it was refreshing to just sort of like, well, this is the world now. So now how are we going to build on this? Stephen and Marley, I've played with both of you before. I love playing with you guys or with you both. And I loved everything that you added and built such a complicated and interesting world. So thank you for that. And as far as wishes, I have no wishes. I'm just genuinely curious as to how we're going to turn this mishmash of ideas into something to play in. So that's it.
One of the things I want to say, just sort of as a tangent, but related, I said this came out 10 years ago, and this is the thing I brought to my group, and they were like, we don't want to do this. And
No.
they collaborated and play. We did this stuff. what it finally came down to, I finally got some of them to explicate it, is that they were worried that the other players would mess the world up.
Oh,
And what it ended up doing actually once we got playing is it did this weird trust building exercise
yeah.
where the players started to accept that everybody could creatively play off of things and would do that. So it was a kind of a turning point in my home group about what collaboration meant. Even though it's weirdly kind of anti-collaboration
Right.
or parallel play in some ways.
Yeah. I do want to just say put one other thing out there. I've really started incorporating a lot of map making into the games that I run and the games that I play. And it was very weird to be developing a world without drawing a map. And in some ways, I think just personally how my brain works, it's harder for me to kind of latch on to what's going on in this world because it's not as visual for me. So
I've used this to do city building, and actually I think doing city building with this and drawing a map at the same time would be a great exercise.
Right.
I've only played Microscope once before, but part of that map building is we would write down each thing on an index card and you would lay it out. So you didn't have an actual physical map, but you had a timeline map that was physically there. That
Yeah.
was yeah.
That's what I did try and do that in Miro while we were talking, and it still looks pretty mushy to me.
Marley, stars, wishes, thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing, and having played it for a night, I still don't quite know what I'm doing, but I figure that's okay. Mostly I signed up for this series because it's like, oh wow, it's like a bunch of different systems that build on each other. That sounds like a intriguing conceit. So I will just leap into it wholeheartedly and see how it goes. And so far I'm enjoying myself, so
Good.
it was a good plan. Lowell, you're actually really good at facilitating, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I always, even though there's the whole uncertainty, I don't know what I'm doing part, like, but I at least like specifically knew which actions I needed to take. So that part was always clear.
Good.
So
Anything
yeah,
else?
I don't really have expectations, so
Okay.
I don't really have wishes.
Yeah, I want that bar very low for me in the following session. So yes. Stephen?
Yeah, so just like Dan had mentioned, I'd forgotten, I'd played Microscope once before, but I'd forgotten how little collaboration there is, and it kind of grated against my normal senses. It's like, oh, I want to ask, is this okay? Can I do this? Can I build on this? And nope, not allowed. This is the first time I played Microscope without actually having scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to, we would play out some little scene, and then as soon as the question is answered, done. And I think so. Microscope, there was some tension there, just like you described. For me, it's I don't know these people. Are they going to mess up my ideas? And at some point, it was like exactly like you said. I don't think I care. So if they mess up my ideas, I'll just make new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked out so well. So as far as so I really liked how all the different stories put together. First, Lowell, I'd heard of using Microscope to start out like a series of games, but I've never done it before. So thank you very much for putting this up on the calendar. That's really exciting to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm.
And playing with all three of you, it was very exciting to see how evocative all the other ideas were.
Yeah.
Like Marley, the period that you put in at the very end, at first I was like, oh no, we're not gonna it's gonna be all out there by its lonesome. And then we all piled on and added all these fantastic details, and I'm like, oh, that fits so well. And Dan, at first I thought as we were writing this down, it was like, you don't have anything to write because this is all pretty much in the spreadsheet, right? And then you come back with this Miro link that like has everything out in a nice whiteboard kind of format. So kudos, that's fantastic. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you giving me a try with this and coming along the ride. And next week we'll play around with imagery drawn from this world. I'm going to stop recording.